Have you ever poured your heart into something only to realize it was built on a lie? That's the gut punch I felt when I uncovered a secret that turned my family into strangers. I'm Danielle, 35, a self-taught day trader who clawed her way to success. For years, I thought I was the glue holding my family together, bankrolling their dreams without a second thought. But one evening, at our Bear Lake vacation home, the truth hit like a rogue wave, and nothing was ever the same. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. Every dollar I have, I earned through sleepless nights, hunched over my laptop, decoding market patterns like a puzzle only I could solve. By 35, I'd built a life I was proud of, not just for me, but for my family. 5 years ago, I started covering the property taxes on our family's vacation home in Bear Lake, Utah, a cedar-shingled retreat 120 miles from my Salt Lake City apartment. The taxes ran $700 a year wired straight from my account to keep the place ours. I didn't mind. It was my way of giving back to the parents who raised me, the sister who shared my childhood summers. But it wasn't just the taxes. My younger sister, Megan, 31, had dreams bigger than her bank account. When she said she couldn't afford her car payments, I stepped in covering $11, $680 over the years for her sleek sedan. Family vacations were on me too. Trips to California's coast weekends. Skiing in Colorado, $20, $400 total. Because I wanted those memories etched in our hearts. When Mom's knee surgery left gaps, insurance wouldn't touch. I paid those bills too. No questions asked. It added up, but I never tallied it. Why would I? Family doesn't keep score. The Bear Lake house was our sanctuary, a place where the lake's glassy surface mirrored the Wasatch Mountains under a pink dawn. I'd drive up from Salt Lake, the 2-hour trip, winding through canyons, and feel the weight of my trading days lift. We'd grill steaks on the deck, the air thick with pine and charcoal, and for a moment, everything felt right. Megan would laugh, Mom would hum old tunes, and Dad would nod approvingly, as if my efforts were just expected. I thought I was the backbone, the one who made it all possible. I thought they saw me. Looking back, there were hints I ignored. Megan always seemed to get what she wanted, a new dress, a weekend getaway, while I was the practical one, the one who had it together. Dad would say, "Danielle, you're so capable," like it was a compliment, but it felt like a weight. I brushed it off, chalking it up to birth order or timing. Megan was 4 years younger. Maybe they had more when she came along. I told myself it didn't matter. I was building my future and helping them was part of it. But that night at Bear Lake, when the lake shimmered under a fading sunset, I'd learned how wrong I was. The family I thought I knew was about to unravel, and I was standing on the edge of a truth that would change everything. What if the people you trusted most were hiding a secret that made your sacrifices a mockery? That's the question that burned through me as I stood in our Bear Lake vacation home, the place I'd poured my money into, only to discover I'd been played for a fool. One Sunday evening, a single piece of paper turned love into betrayal, and I saw them for who they were. It started innocently enough, a family dinner at the lake house, 120 miles from my Salt Lake City apartment. The wide windows framed the lake, its surface catching the last golden streaks of sunset. The air smelled of grilled steak and pine, a scent that used to mean relaxation. I was setting the table, humming, when Dad started pacing the living room, his face red, his voice slicing through the calm. "Danielle, how could you be so selfish?" he shouted. "Megan needs that money for her business venture. You have more than enough." I froze, a property tax bill he'd shoved at me crumpling in my hand. The room tilted, and the wooden beams and cozy furniture suddenly felt alien. Selfish me. I'd been the one holding this family together. For 5 years, I'd paid $8,700 annually for the lake house taxes, $43,500 total. I'd covered $11,680 for Megan's car payments month after month because she needed reliable transportation. I'd funded $20,400 in family vacations, Mom's medical bills, even $12,000 for a new roof last summer, driving up to Bear Lake myself to hand over the check under a blistering sun. I'd never asked for a dime back. "Dad," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I've been paying for everything. The taxes, Megan's car, and Mom's bills. I can't keep doing this forever." Mom sat on the couch, eyes glued to her folded hands, silent. Her refusal to meet my gaze stung worse than Dad's words. "We gave you everything growing up. Dad snapped, ignoring me, and now you're abandoning us while Megan tries to make something of herself. That's when I saw it, an envelope on the coffee table, half hidden under a magazine. The corner of a document peeked out bold letters spelling Trust Fund and Megan Walsh. My stomach dropped, a cold wave crashing over me. I grabbed it before Dad could react. "Danielle, that's private!" He barked, lunging forward, but I was already scanning the page. My hands trembled as the truth hit like a freight train. A $350,000 trust fund for Megan. Only Megan. The same father who said there wasn't enough for my college tuition, forcing me to work multiple jobs. The same father who expected me to bankroll their lifestyle while secretly securing Megan's future. When were you going to tell me? I whispered, a cold clarity washing over me. Every moment of favoritism clicked into place. The extra attention Megan got, the way my needs were always too much. Dad snatched the paper, folding it away. "You weren't supposed to see that," he muttered. Clearly, I shot back, my voice hollow. "I guess that explains why you never helped with my student loans." Mom finally spoke, her voice soft, placating, the kind that used to soothe me, but now felt like a lie. "Sweetheart, Megan needs more help. You've always been so independent." The twisted logic stole my breath. I was being punished for my strength while Megan was rewarded for her dependence. "All those times I asked for help," I said slowly. Memories flooding back when I worked 2 jobs in college, when my car broke down on I-15 in a snowstorm, when I needed a deposit for my first apartment. You said you couldn't afford it, but the money was there. For Megan, Dad shifted, uncomfortable. "Investments aren't that simple, Danielle. We had to think about the future. Just not my future," I retorted. He slid the tax bill toward me. "The taxes are due next month. The homeowners association raised fees again." I stared, incredulous. After this, he still expected me to pay. Something snapped inside me, a quiet seismic shift. "I'll take care of it," I said, picking up the bill. He relaxed, missing the steel in my eyes. As I left the lake house, the mountains loomed against the darkening sky, and I knew nothing would ever be the same. How does it feel to realize your sacrifices were built on a foundation of favoritism? Driving back to Salt Lake City from Bear Lake, the 120-mile stretch of canyon roads blurred as memories I'd buried resurfaced, each one a shard of glass cutting deeper, and the $350,000 trust fund my father set up for my sister Megan, while I scraped by, wasn't just a betrayal. It was the key to unlocking years of unequal treatment I'd been too loyal to question. As the Wasatch Mountains faded in my rearview mirror, I thought back to childhood in our modest Utah home. I was the serious one, always studying, while Megan, 4 years younger, twirled in dance classes Dad paid for without hesitation. At 16, she got a shiny red convertible, a birthday gift that gleamed in our driveway. I was still riding the city bus, my sneakers worn thin from shifts at a grocery store, saving for a $2,000 Honda with a dented fender. "Focus on your grades," Danielle, Dad would say, as if my hard work excused their indulgence of Megan. I swallowed the sting, believing effort would earn their pride. College was worse. I enrolled at the University of Utah, piecing together scholarships and working 30 hours a week at a coffee shop, the smell of burnt espresso clinging to my clothes. My shifts left me exhausted, but I graduated with honors. Megan, meanwhile, went to a private college in Colorado. Her tuition, housing, and even spending money were covered by Mom and Dad. I'd visit her dorm carrying textbooks I couldn't afford new, and smile as she showed off her new laptop, a gift for her studies. I told myself their finances must have improved by then. But the trust fund document I'd seen at Bear Lake, $350,000 for Megan, proved the money had always been there, just not for me. After graduation, I moved back home, my degree useless without a cushion to start. Fresh rent was impossible on my entry-level job's pay, and when I asked for help with a security deposit, Mom sighed. "We're stretched thin, Danielle." Yet when Megan graduated, they furnished her Denver apartment with a plush couch and a dining table I'd have killed, for I helped her unpack my arms, aching from carrying boxes, my smile forced as I wondered why my struggles never mattered. I'd rationalized it. Maybe they trusted me to figure it out. But that night at the lake house, the truth was undeniable. My parents had chosen Megan's comfort over my survival, and I'd been too busy proving myself to see it. The highway lights flickered as I neared Salt Lake City, my mind replaying smaller slights. Like Christmas, I got a used coat while Megan unwrapped a designer bag. Or the time I asked for $200 to fix my car's brakes, and Dad said, "Budget better, Danielle," while Megan's business trip to Vegas was fully funded. Each memory was a thread in a tapestry of favoritism woven so subtly I'd mistaken it for love. The trust fund wasn't just about money. It was proof I'd been the workhorse expected to carry the load while Megan was groomed for ease. As my apartment's skyline came into view, I gripped the steering wheel, anger replacing the hurt. I'd been blind, but not anymore. The family I'd poured everything into didn't deserve my loyalty, and I was done playing their game. What does it mean to reclaim your life from those who've taken you for granted? In my Salt Lake City apartment, the hum of my laptop was my only company as I turned betrayal into action. And after uncovering my father's $350,000 trust fund for my sister Megan, I wasn't just hurt, I was done. The 120-mile drive from Bear Lake had cleared my head, and now with the city's lights glittering outside, I was ready to rewrite the rules. My phone buzzed relentlessly. Dad's texts, "We're counting on you for the taxes," and Megan's "Don't be selfish." Danielle, I silenced it. Their entitlement fueling my resolve, I opened a folder on my laptop labeled Family Finances, a habit from my trading days where every cent was tracked. The spreadsheet glowed with numbers I'd never confronted: $43,500 for 5 years. Of Bear Lake property taxes, $11, $680 for Megan's car payments, $2,400 for vacations, $12,000 for the lake house roof, $8,200 for Mom's knee surgery. Total $95, $780, my stomach churned. That was money I could have invested, grown and used for my dreams. But I'd given it freely, thinking it bound us closer. The next morning, I called in sick and drove to Joseph Klein's office, my financial advisor since I'd started making real money 3 years ago. His office smelled of leather and coffee, a calm oasis from the storm inside me. I slid my spreadsheet across his desk. "This is what I've given them," I said. His eyes widened at the $95, $780 total. "And they've never repaid you?" he asked, removing his glasses. "They're family," I replied, the words hollow now. "Danielle, this is unsustainable," he said, his tone firm but kind. "You're enabling dependence while sabotaging your future." I nodded, the trust fund's shadow looming. "They've set up $350,000 for Megan and Joseph, while I've been draining my accounts." His expression darkened. "That changes everything." For 2 hours we plotted my exit. Joseph recommended Victor Hernandez, a forensic accountant who could verify my contributions. Document everything he urged. Receipts, bank statements, notarized records. If this gets ugly, you'll need proof. I left his office with a spark of power I hadn't felt in years, the city's morning bustle mirroring my newfound clarity. Back home, I gathered every record: tax payments, wire transfers, even emails from Megan begging for car money. My trading habits paid off. I was meticulous, and every transaction was categorized. Victor's office was a fortress of paper stacks, his desk buried under ledgers. "Your records are impeccable," he said, sorting through my files. "Most people don't track like this." He calculated not just the $95,780, but the interest I'd lost by diverting funds from my investments. $20,965, bringing the total to $118,745. The number hit like a slap vindication, laced with grief. "What now?" I asked. "Depends on your goal." Victor said, "Legal restitution's tricky without contracts, but a financial statement gives leverage." I chose leverage for now. As he prepared a notarized summary, my phone pinged. "Dad again. Tax due dates close." I ignored it, letting them sweat. That night, I made my move. I logged into my bank and canceled the automatic payment for Megan's car, my cursor hovering before clicking. Confirm. I removed myself as an authorized payer on all family accounts, utilities, insurance, the lake house's HOA fees. Then, in a moment of defiance, I transferred $120,000 from my brokerage account to a new fund labeled My Future. The act felt like shedding chains. I leaned back the city skyline, a silent witness to my rebellion. For the first time, I wasn't the dutiful daughter footing the bill. I was Danielle, 35, choosing myself. As I closed my laptop, a text from Mom flickered on my screen. "Danielle, the taxes are due soon. We're counting on you." I laughed, bitter but free. They thought I'd cave like always. But the trust fund had shattered their hold, and Victor's statement was my shield. The lake house, once a symbol of family, was now their problem. I turned off my phone, the silence louder than their demands. Whatever came next, anger, guilt trips, or worse, I was ready. I'd given them nearly $120,000, and they'd given me lies. It was time they learned what happened when the backbone walked away. What happens when you pull the plug on a family that's been draining you dry? After canceling their payments and transferring $120,000 to my future, I braced for the storm. And in my Salt Lake City apartment, 120 miles from the Bear Lake vacation home I'd once bankrolled, I watched my family unravel. The $350,000 trust fund my father hid for my sister Megan was my breaking point, and now with Victor's notarized statement of my $118,745 in contributions, I was done being their ATM, but they weren't ready to let go. The fallout hit like a blizzard. By noon, the next day, my phone was a war zone. Megan texted Danielle, "What's wrong with you? The bank says my car payment bounced." "Are you trying to ruin me?" Dad's message was colder. "Call me now. This is unacceptable." Mom left a voicemail, her voice trembling. "Danielle, the tax notice came with a late fee. Megan's car could be repossessed. Why are you doing this?" No apologies, just demands. I ignored them, focusing on a volatile trading day, and the stock charts were a welcome distraction. But the pressure mounted when my intercom buzzed. "Ms. Walsh, your father's here. The security guard said he's demanding to see you." I exhaled sharply. "Tell him I'm not available. If he won't leave, call the police." 20 minutes later, my cousin Thomas texted, "Saw Uncle Greg escorted from your building. What's happening?" "You okay?" I replied. "I'm fine. Family financial dispute." His response stunned me. "About time you stood up. Their favoritism toward Megan's been obvious forever. Someone else saw it. That validation was a lifeline." The tax deadline loomed and Dad's desperation grew. Uncle Pete emailed Danielle Greggs, asking me for a $10,000 loan for lake house taxes and penalties. "Says you're refusing to help. This isn't like you." I didn't respond yet. But Pete's words gnawed at me. Dad was spinning a tale of my betrayal. Then Thomas called, his voice urgent. "There's a family meeting at your parents' this weekend. Greg's rallying everyone to guilt you into paying again, calling it saving the family legacy. You need to be there." My stomach tightened, but Thomas added, "I'll back you." "You're not alone," I agreed, nerves jangling like loose change. The meeting was my chance to expose the truth, and I wasn't backing down. Saturday arrived crisp and clear. I drove 15 miles to my parents' suburban Utah home, wearing a black pantsuit that felt like armor. Victor's notarized statement detailing my $118,745 in contributions was in my briefcase, along with copies of the trust fund document I'd glimpsed. The living room was packed, aunts, uncles, cousins, the air thick with judgment. Dad stood by the fireplace mid-speech, his voice booming about family duty. He faltered when I entered, recovering with a forced smile. "Danielle, glad you're here. We're discussing the lake house crisis." I set my briefcase down, meeting his gaze. "I'm sure you've shared all the financial details, Dad." His eyes narrowed. "We're addressing your refusal to meet obligations." I opened my briefcase, pulling out the statement copies. "Interesting, because I've met $118,745 in obligations over 5 years. Money you never had for my education or housing. But somehow found for Megan's $350,000 trust fund." Murmurs rippled through the room. Aunt Catherine frowned. "What trust fund?" I handed out the summaries, my voice steady. "I've paid $43,500 in lake house taxes, $11,680 for Megan's car, $20,400 for vacations, $12,000 for repairs, $8,200 for Mom's surgery. Meanwhile, Dad set up a trust for Megan, leaving me to cover everything else." The room erupted. Uncle Pete stood, his face grim. "Greg, you said you were helping both girls equally?" Catherine clutched the paper, shaking her head. "This is wrong." Dad's face flushed crimson. "These are private matters," he roared. "Private until I paid for your lifestyle." I shot back. Megan sat frozen on the sofa, eyes downcast, while Mom dabbed at tears. Thomas nodded at me, a silent anchor. Pete turned to Dad. If Danielle's paid those taxes, she deserves part of the lake house. I hadn't considered that, but the idea landed hard. It was in their names. Despite my investment, I don't want it. I said, my voice cutting through the chaos. I want you to see the unfairness. Dad's eyes met mine, a flicker of fear beneath his anger. Then he stormed out, Mom trailing behind. Catherine approached, her voice soft. I had no idea Danielle. Greg said you didn't need help. Thomas gripped my shoulder. This isn't enough, Danielle. There should be consequences. As I drove home, the weight of their shock lingered, but so did my resolve. I'd laid bare the truth, and there was no going back. How do you measure the cost of standing up for yourself? In the quiet of my Salt Lake City apartment, 120 miles from the Bear Lake house, I'd stopped saving. I found freedom in the aftermath, and exposing my family's $350,000 trust fund for Megan, while I'd given $118, $745, wasn't just about money, it was about respect. The family meeting had cracked their facade, and now the pieces were falling into place. A week later, Dad texted, taxes are due, pay them. No remorse, just entitlement. But Megan called, voice shaky. I saw your documents. Danielle, I used my trust fund to pay the $700 in taxes and legal fees. You now own 25% of the lake house. I was stunned she'd acted, she added. I've asked Dad to split the trust equally. Uncle Pete and Aunt Catherine agree. He's meeting his advisor tomorrow. Relief hit. Not for the money, but for the fairness. Mom texted next. I'm proud of you, Danielle. I should have spoken up years ago. Her words, though late, softened the edges of my anger. With Joseph's help, I restructured my portfolio, free of family burdens. The $120,000 in my future fund grew, and I eyed a small cabin in Park City, 30 miles away for myself. The lake house no longer held me hostage. Megan's call lingered in my mind. Thank you for making us face it. Danielle. For the first time, I felt seen. If this story resonates, share it, like it, and comment below. Have you faced family unfairness? How did you fight back? I want to hear your stories.